Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, their habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today my guest is Mark Sherwood. Hey, Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Caesar. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background and who you are and what you do.
Well, it's a varied background. Previously, currently I'm a traditional naturopathic doctor where I work at the Functional Medical Institute in Tulsa with my wife, Dr. Michele. We kind of have a longevity type of business, and
Mhm.
we've been doing it for a long, long time. But prior to this, going back some years, I was a former police officer for 24 years. I was also a professional baseball player for a couple of years before that. Um, I was with the power team. People might remember those guys that traveled around the world and broke bricks and run through walls of ice and that kind of stuff. We're on TV out there a lot of time in your home state. Um, and then we've written some books, like six, and we've made 7 or 8 movies. So kind of like doing that, our pastime. So that's a little bit about us. We just try to help people and really be a voice of hope and reason for them and their health.
Got you. Yeah, I see here your number one bestseller, The Quest for Wellness for Your Diet, Surviving the Garden of Eden, The Narrow Road, and People Unlock.
Yeah.
Awesome. So no, that's good. So I was, definitely you've gone through a lot of things. And by the way, thank you for your service. And again, there's a lot of discipline with that. And you've done a lot of different things that have been that would be perceived as being very disciplined. Take me back to your upbringing and your stages, because I do believe that what we are now, part of that is who we were, right? And
Yeah.
then down the line, we also may find and recognize different things. So take me back to where you were originally from, born and upbringing.
Well, I grew up in a little town outside of Tulsa called Berry Hill, and believe it or not, there were 47 people in my graduating class. So it was a pretty small place, and
Wow.
I was adopted too. A lot of people don't know that, and only child, and my parents did the best they could. But I probably, growing up, Caesar didn't have the best situation. I would say it was a little challenging, and I had to learn to overcome a lot and overcome a lot with hard work. Sometimes, you have big dreams, but you can't achieve big dreams until you want to work hard to get there. And the big dreams aren't achieved by somebody that's always the most talented in the world, but sometimes it's the one that outworks everybody else, And so,
Yeah.
even the whole idea of, playing professional baseball. Well, I wasn't the best baseball player on my team. How do you do that? You have to outwork everybody else and just get noticed by doing that. So I guess it was a life of overcoming early on, just overcoming obstacles and people telling you can't do something. And I remember a teacher one time stood in front of class and she asked me to tell the class what dreams I had, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was probably in second grade or something like that. And I held my hand up and she called on me and I wish she hadn't have because I said, I want to be a professional baseball player. And everybody laughed at me
Mm.
because, well, I mean, it didn't sound realistic at the time, but, Caesar, she told me to, and she told the whole class to take a pen out and write on a piece of paper what you want to achieve in life and keep that with you until your dream came true. Well, I was just foolish enough to do it. I
Yeah.
kept that piece of paper all the way until I found it again through the years. I kind of forgot about it, but I was sitting in the dugout one day,
Hmm.
the country of Australia, in a baseball game. And I thought of that paper. No kidding. And I went and looked in my bag and I had my wallet there and I couldn't find it. And I thought, ah, geez, I lost it. But then it was stuck to the back of my driver's license.
Mm.
And I peeled it apart and there's my little handwriting from being a kid, man, right there. That paper, which was once white, was now yellow. It said, I will become a professional baseball player, period. And so I just realized at that point, if you believe in your dreams enough, they can come true.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's actually a really good lesson to even talk about a little bit more. I mean, like you said, if you believe in your dreams enough, it can be achieved. Um,
Yes.
and thinking back and looking back, going through that exercise or that one thing that you put on a paper many years ago, what were some lessons or things that were coming out for you when you did achieve and did become a professional baseball player, right? Because yes, again, a lot of times, when we're going through that, we don't really write it down. We just kind of speak it to existence. I
Yeah.
want to be a police officer. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. I want to be that. And a lot of times, it's a lot of those common things in essence, right? Except here, you took the time, you wrote it down,
Did.
you probably put it away, and then it came to fruition. What are some lessons that were extracted with that being in mind for you?
I think number one is when you have a goal, write it down because it's like a roadmap. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know how to get there? So I think it provides like a destination. And then I think the second part of that is probably in the journey to that destination, you're going to have different places in which you stop off at for a while. There are lessons to get you further down the road. And sometimes some of those lessons that you have are known as setbacks, because we're all going to have them. The,
Yeah.
the life is not a straight line, man. It's like this narrow road that goes everywhere. And a setback can be something that causes you to take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and even sometimes quit. Or a setback can be a time for you to not take a step back, but to step up because your step back setback was preparing you for your comeback. And I think that's the other way to look at it. And when you get knocked down, I got knocked down a bunch, man. You got three choices with that. I think this is the third lesson I learned is you can lay there and cry about it and become a victim of it, or you can go back and say, well, I got to find something else to do, get off that road. Or maybe number three, you can get your butt up and you can keep on moving
Yeah.
and you can dust yourself off, quit crying, wipe the tears out of your eyes and keep going. And I had to do that a bunch, man. Life was not easy and I had to keep going. And I've
Right.
learned how to do that in life now. And the lessons you learn as a child like that, as a young man, they can set the tone, whether good or bad, as you mentioned, as you get to be an adult. And I'm thankful that through those setbacks in my own life, I'm thankful that to God, I suppose that He put in my life, in my heart, that those could be good things and I could learn from them. So lessons learned in my case were lessons earned, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's huge. The other thing too that comes to mind, and going back to all the different lessons that you're learning and the setbacks that you have, regardless of how people may perceive that. You mentioned earlier you're adopted, so that could have
Yep.
been, that by itself. I can only imagine how that could do. Even if you're in a loving relationship of family parents, I myself was adopted with my on my dad's side, and that by itself was difficult, right?
Yep.
So that is a setback to an extent, or lessons to learn, different things to navigate through. Then you're going through all of these different things as you're growing up and trying to figure out what you want to do. Talk to me about why you were, I'm assuming, pretty good in baseball and really enjoy that. Why that shift? Why that change from that to now a police officer for many years? And that by itself is also is a never a safe job, right? Every day you're going in not knowing if you're gonna come back good, right? Tell me about
Right.
that experience.
Well, I think baseball. I wanted to play in the major leagues and didn't quite make that. And maybe it wasn't the
The
right
path.
timing. Maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't the goal I was supposed to be at, but I did get to play professionally, which was a goal. So I'm there. But when I came back from the country of Australia, actually, because I last played over there, I needed to get a job. It was time to go to work, and
Mhm.
a friend of mine was a police officer, and I thought that's a really cool career and a way to serve the public. And so I got hired pretty quickly, and for 10 years, little plus out of my 24-year career, I was on the SWAT team.
Mm.
And
Wow.
you see things and go through things that people should not see or go through. And it's hard. It changes who you are in the way you see things. And I think probably within that time frame, there were times where, to my own fault, where I thought it was really us, the police, against them, the bad guys. And I was so wrong in that because that's not the way it is. Because the person that I was arresting or having to go and confront, man, that could have been me with just one or two bad decisions, you know. So I learned something at about the 10-year mark of my career that I was one decision away from being a good person or making a bad decision to put me in a place where I'd be on the other side of the law.
Mm.
And so it changed the way I related to people because I figured if I'm only one breath away from being an idiot or a blessing, you know, in my whole life, I need to treat people that way. It's not us versus them. It's
Mm.
us. It's us. And so that was a big shift that occurred in my life, probably about the 10-year mark, that really transformed the way I think about life and people.
Yeah, awesome. So let's dive into you decided to get into medicine, and then when you know study, you have a lot of credentials backing you up. Where did that come about?
Well, the last probably 7 or 8 years of my career as a police officer, I was transferred to the police academy to do a lot of work up with the cadets, you know, to train them, to hire them, recruit them, and all that kind of stuff, and lead them. But in that process, I was tasked with developing a wellness program for our police officers, and it didn't exist, so I didn't know how to do that. So I just started studying, and I realized something, Caesar, that blew my mind. It was that the retired male police officer, and this statistic still holds true for most cities and counties and states across the nation, the retired male police officer lives to the average of 66 years of age,
Wow.
which is not okay. And so I wanted to figure out why that was and what I could do to make a difference. And so I just started studying and developed the wellness program and just got curious about how life affects the police officer. And then I realized that it's not just affecting police officers, that life affects everybody. And so that thought process can continue to expand. And so from protection and service at that level, it just simply transferred to protection and service at another level, and which is what I do now. So, like Forrest Gump, you know, who started running and kept on running in the movie,
Hmm.
I started studying and kept on studying and never stopped. So, from the police officer, I became a traditional naturopathic doctor, and my wife and I teamed up, and now here we are, nearly 15 years later. I never saw it coming, but it my mind and heart is the same. I'm still trying to protect people from themselves, you know, and serve them
Yeah,
as best I can, even though it's expanded quite a bit and maybe in a different way, but it's still the same mindset.
got it. Why is it that through your research and study, what are the main reasons why the expectancy is only 66 years or so?
I think it's several factors: shift work,
Okay.
high stress, very poor nutrition, lack of sleep, proper sleep and rest, lack of exercise. A lot of them gain a lot of extra weight, which is not okay. It's inflammatory. I think it's all that combined, and it's just a hard life. And so I've tried my best all these years to the ones that I still have connection with around the country. Matter of fact, even before coming on with you, I was talking to a person who was in the state of Texas who used to be a former police officer.
Mm,
And so it's been fascinating, but the same issues exist today.
right.
And so those are the core issues that I see as being factors that would make life expectancy less with them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and I see here you've completed training and certification in age management, genetics, genomics, peptide therapy, hormone therapy, stress management, GI health, and immunology. So, do you go out and now are practicing and teaching people, like people hire you to kind of help you with that? Tell me about how people can work with you in terms of that.
Yeah, we have clients really, myself and my wife, really all over the country and all over the world. Thankfully to the remote communication we have, today we're on remote, we're on the
Yeah,
Zoom, which is kind of
right.
cool. It's really opened the door for us to be able to help people around the country and world. And it's not unusual for people reach out to us and I kind of help people in all those areas. Genetics, peptides, hormones, just overall lifestyle to enhance the idea of not just living longer, Caesar, but to live better, maybe increasing health span and decreasing sick span.
I love that. So what is part of your mission right now? You're trying to go in and impact X amount of people, or what is it that you're trying to accomplish right now with this new venture of yours?
Man, it's a lot. Big picture, I want to see hospitals less empty and have them hurt for business.
Mm,
I really, really do.
yeah.
I want to see those minor emergencies that don't have minor emergencies at all, and I want to see them closed down. I want to see pharmacies used less. I want to see self-imposed choice-driven illnesses gone. And I want to see people use less medication because I think our country is in a bind. We're the most unhealthy state we've ever been in the history of mankind's existence right now. And is that okay? I don't think so. And it's driven in part because of a system that's not about helping people. It's not about healing people. It's not about prevention of disease processes. It's about management of disease processes. And that's a tragedy because I don't think anyone's born with medication deficiencies. Mission that my wife and I have is a big one. We want to change people's way they think about things, their mind and hearts, I suppose, and just the way they do life. And I'm not against doctors, my goodness, at all. But I think that we are great in this country at trauma care, but we're very poor at prevention. And all the money we spend on the trauma care is great, but we need to get rid of the management of medications and the management of disease processes in our country because it's not helping us. And so our job is to just see change in that, perhaps one person, one family at a time around our great nation.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. You said something that I think we need more people like you that are doing what you're doing because when I think of that, you talked about we got to be able to have people that are relying less on medication.
Yep.
And unfortunately, big pharma is a big business in this country, and everything. It doesn't matter what you have. Hey, go out and get more medicine, right? It seems
Yep.
like every time for it, even the most insignificant stuff, you got to go out and get medicine, right? So the point that I'm trying to make, that is a big fight that you're getting yourself into, right? To be able to fight something like that. So tell me, although there's gonna be more people like you, you and your wife, you're just that power team, right? How
Yep.
can you help and make sure that we're getting the message out? Obviously with this podcast and other podcasts, getting this message out to say, hey guys, here are some things that you guys can do to minimize that and and even get more years to your age, right? Give us some tangible things that we can do.
Well, I think first of all, we have to come together as a people once again, be we the people. Because right now you mentioned, the big pharma's got so much power in us. They're advertising to our through our television screens, through our radio airways, and even through all kinds of media. And it's driven and funded by the government. And that's not okay. So we, the people, got to take charge of our health again. And there's a few things people can do every single day to help themselves. Number one is you can get your tennis shoes on and go move.
Mm.
The only day you don't move is the day you're dead. I tell people that a lot, Caesar, because movement is life. Lack of movement is rigor mortis. And just keep that in mind. We need to begin to also eat better. And what we put in our mouth, we need to think about it. If something's not in its original package and is laden with chemicals and toxins, we don't need to eat it. It is inflammatory. It is not food and it never was. And this may sound a little bit weird, but it still holds a lot of truth. Anything the government subsidizes in order to make cheap, probably don't eat it because it's not doing our country very well. And they subsidize sugars, grains, corn, soy, dairy, etc. And we consume those things and we get sick and end up getting big pharma in our lives routinely with our monthly visits to the pharmacy. So we got to move well, eat better. I think we need not fail to mention sleep.
Mm.
Sleep is critical. We need 7 to 8 hours a night, and sometimes we spend more time on the screen than we do sleeping. And sleeping is a great way to recover, rebuild, restore, regenerate. That's the way the body does that. And number four, I think probably equally as important as the previous three, is to work on de-stressing. I mean, we are so connected today. We are so consumed with media and just this addiction. We're driven by stimulus everywhere. And we have a hard time sitting still and just being quiet. We have a hard time not talking. We have a hard time in silence. And you can always know, to our listeners out there, if you have a hard time with this, if you find it stressful to sit down for 10 minutes with your phone on the other side of the room where you're not checking it in the quiet, and just sit there and just breathe and relax and just take an inventory of where you are and who you are and what day it is and what time it is. We move so fast, we don't know what time it is.
Mm.
And so those areas, more movement, better nutrition, better sleep, and better management of stress, without doing anything else, those things would be a critical piece to take adjustments in to get our health better.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's huge. Do you guys go out and speak on stages to bring this message around the country?
We do. I've probably been in not most, probably most states. Maybe there's a couple I haven't.
Yeah.
Been fortunate enough to speak in every continent except one, which I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, we go where we're invited. We have a lot of opportunities, and take the ones we can, honestly,
Right.
because if you have the opportunity to facilitate or be a change agent in one person's life, you never know who that one person can influence, and
Mm.
it's not somebody that I might ever know.
Yeah.
Like I may never know who's listening today. I may never meet a person listening today. And I may, it's like, but that is what drives us. Because if you change one life, man, you've got a chance to change the legacy of that family line, and that's what drives us every day.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you hit it right on the nail. The idea of being able to impact one to many, right? And it really comes down to that. You just never know who's listening to our message, right? And that one person can be the beacon of helping other people
Yep.
around. The other thing too is in terms of delivering that message and really helping people through that process. What other ways do you help people? Do they call you and say, "Hey, Dr. Mark, I want to work with you, and I need some assistance"? Do you do like personalized coaching or training?
Yeah, we do actually. When people, like my wife and I, we had this with our business. We have a free webinar once a month, and people can watch that and ask us questions, and they can schedule consults, or they can call our office and schedule consults. And we usually, if they're remote, we'll set up a Zoom, or if they're local, we'll set up an in person, and we really get to know them as a human being. Because like the mystery of what's going on in a person is typically uncovered in the history. And the
Mm.
history is one that we establish through relationship. And I know that I've learned that good things happen, Caesar, in a trustworthy relationship, and not many good things happen in a non-trustworthy relationship. So we work through all aspects of life. You know, what they do, who they are, how they are, the culture, the family, and we really try to come up with adjustments in all the areas: nutrition, sleep, stress management, movement. We want to know genetically who they are, and we get them started on hormones as appropriate, and peptides as appropriate, and supplementation as appropriate, and really work through them from an emotional standpoint, spiritual standpoint, intellectual standpoint, really work on the whole person. So we construct workout plans, we construct lifestyle plans, all those things we do. And it's really a personalized approach, Caesar, to each human being, because every person is like a puzzle, like a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle sitting on the table in front of you. And I want to make sure that thing's put together right so
Mm.
that it's conveying the picture it's supposed to. And the picture gives you the meaning. That picture is that vision that you got to see, man. And so if we can create that vision in people, they typically have a much more confident life, a less distracted life, and probably a more focused life.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, with that, again, when you're doing working, family stress, there's so many different things that might be going on. You mentioned, minimizing the stress. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we as human beings especially in the US, we're dealing
Mm.
with. There's so much stress just all around, right?
Yes.
Which may lead to uh, some consequences, such as suicidal thoughts and things like that. I'm sure you dealt with those kind of clients and or people. I'm sure people might be asking, well, I might be going through that, or I went through that with a family member. How can you help me? How can you relate to that? And I know that one of the major things you had to overcome was the suicide of your mother and the death of your son, right? And so you
Yep.
can definitely you've gone and felt that, and you know what that means. Except again, you being there and having that discipline to be able to overcome that. Talk about that because I know there's a lot of people that are gonna be thinking, how can you help me if I'm going through those things?
I mean, look, I've lived through those things and probably a little bit of me died through those things, quite frankly. And even being a police officer, I've seen people commit suicide right in front of me. And it's a hard thing. You don't ever forget that. And it's perhaps it puts a scar on your life.
Hmm.
But I can understand from a standpoint of where people might think no one understands. There's not a person out here that had felt like giving up a time or two or more.
Yeah.
And that's being honest, man. I mean, I felt like that, of course, but if we're just honest and transparent, that's probably part of being a human. You're going to go through highs and lows, and some lows are going to be really low and some highs are going to be really high. But you got to know that suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Hmm.
And you're out there and you're hanging out, man, and you just want to quit and give up thinking nobody loves you. That's not true because I can look them in the eye, whether it be in person or online like this, and I can say, I love you, period. And I don't care what you've done. So that gives you one person to count on because I really do care. I don't want to see people quit on life because there's people out there that want to feel like there's no other way. But I'm telling you, there's always another way. There's one more way. You give it 5 minutes, give it 10 minutes, rethink what you're doing, and it'll reshape what you're doing when it go in the future. And people struggle all the time, Caesar. They do. And again, struggle is part of life, but it's also how you can get stronger. I go to the gym every day. How do I get stronger? I struggle with weight.
Hmm.
The weight of the world is a struggle, man. And you can build resilience like that. You can build strength like that. And it doesn't have to get the best of you. And I'll say this to people out there that might be struggling with this. If you don't begin to manage life, life will manage you. And I'm not going to let life manage me. I'm not going to do it because I've found that the best way to overcome the struggles of life is to take charge of that thing and own the things I can own and really control the things I can control and have some grace and wisdom to deal with the things I can't.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And part of it is I like what you just mentioned, and one thing that really resonates, and anybody listening, they need to really take this to heart. It really just 5 minutes, like you say. And when you think about it, we have these big problems on our shoulders. Except again, I like how you put it. It could be just a 5 minute rethinking, or a 10 minute rethinking, or just shifting that mindset, or giving you what we're looking for, that carrot, that the dangling carrot, that hope that, hey, those 5 minutes, those 10 minutes can definitely change the trajectory of what's going to be next. I always tell people that the choices and the decisions that we make today will determine the quality of life that we have tomorrow. And
Oh,
so, by making those right choices, or making a choice, period, is gonna dictate what's gonna be the next move. The challenge is that people are so afraid to make that choice that they get hung up on that and they never make the choice, right? And that's part of that is thinking like, hey, let's just think about this for 5 seconds, for 5 minutes, whatever that might be, right? Let's just sit on that quiet before you pull the trigger, before you do something that could change your life forever. And in this case, if you're thinking of something more impactful, you're gone, right? Let's see what
Yeah,
we can do. And so there's a lot of help. I like the fact that you have your free seminars or webinars to be able to help people in those things. If people wanted to connect, find out more about that webinar, contact you, how do they people get a hold of you?
really easy. They can go straight to Sherwood.tv, my last name.tv. And there's a bunch of free stuff there for people to have. They can sign up for our blog, and we have our, television show. There's some episodes on there, and there's our movies if people want to connect with those. And then our services. I mean, we're here to help, man. I mean, we're not here to do anything but be a helper. And to that end, I wear, you mentioned hope. I wear these little bracelets here that
Oh,
says
I
hope,
love that. Yeah.
hope dealer. And that's what my wife and I do. We founded Hope Dealers International as well. And it's just an organization that just tries to give people that little window of hope through
Yeah.
any means possible. And to echo what you said, just to people would relate to this. Yesterday in the past, man, it's history. I can't go fix that, man. If I acted like a goofball, I've got to learn from that, but I can't go backwards. And I don't know about tomorrow because Caesar, that's still a mystery. But I sure know about right now. It's today. It's the present. And that's why today, right now, in the present is a gift. And
Mm.
I really hope that people treasure the moment of now because that's the time you can change things. You know, don't live in yesterday and don't live for tomorrow because they're not now. And so we're just here to try to help people along the way. And if we can do that, that's great.
Yeah, I think part of it too, where people might get hung up on the idea of the past and the present, and correct me, I want to hear your thoughts on that because I think it's important. Like you said, the past is the past. There's something we can do. I tell people nearly that's just an experience, right?
Yeah.
Except when we're looking at the past, we got to be able to extract the lessons, right? Those that can serve us to have a better tomorrow,
Mhm.
based on today. And then when it comes down to the future, you're right. We're just here today, right? And
Yep.
so what I tell people though is, because I hear this phrase a lot, and people really mean this. Is like I'm just living day by day. I'm just going day by day, right? And while I get that to an extent, because they don't, well, I don't have a future yet, except
Mhm.
they're literally taking that day by day without really thinking, prepping, getting ready for tomorrow. I
Yeah.
like to say, hey, you really got to put a little bit of effort where, like, hey, you know what took place in the past. Take those lessons, extract those lessons, and now prepare to what you want for your future to be like. What do you want your future to look like? Because living day by day, in my opinion, is not going to get you nowhere. You're going to have the same day again tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I like what you said. Let me just kind of sum it up like this. Live today, both like there's no tomorrow and like you'll live forever.
Mm,
I'll say that one more time. Live today like there's no tomorrow and like you'll live forever. It's both. At the same time, it's live today with expectancy and hope and purpose and intentionality and also when you get up in the daytime, you assess what you learned, you try to do a good job and make your best better. And at the end of the day, you assess what you went through and you wake up the next day and you do it again and try to be better. And so it's really trying to improve this walk we have through life every day so that we can leave, footprints behind that like show a pathway of how to do things, like a legacy of sorts.
yeah, yeah, I love that. Two last questions for you. Number one, you definitely have this positive mindset. You've gone through a lot. You've overcome a lot of different things. Do you have any daily habits, things that you do every day, that are non-negotiables for you that you can share?
Yeah, I'm a predictable guy, man. I realize if you don't make a plan, you've already planned to fail. So I'm very structured. So I get up every day. I get up about 4 o'clock usually in the morning, and it comes early, but I also go to bed early too.
Gotcha.
And I get up in the morning and I'll immediately I have quiet time. For me, it's prayer and quiet. I do that every day because I need it to prepare for the day. And then from that point, I go to the gym and I exercise. And I don't listen to trash in my ears to music. I'll listen to quiet stuff, sometimes nothing. And I get my exercise done. And those are two non-negotiables that I do. And then I'll go to work and then I eat healthy food. And then I get done with work and seeing people and I spend time with my wife, quiet down, and I go to bed. And I do that pretty much all the time. Now, having said that, one thing I want to say about my life with my wife, and I think it's important, and I have a non-negotiable that we have a date night once a week.
I
And
love
I
that.
don't care who calls or whatever. I'm Friday night's the date night, and that's the way it is. And no one gets in the way of that. And I think and those non-negotiables like that have helped me out in my life.
Yeah, I love that. Building those boundaries for yourself more than anything, helping you move forward. That's huge. My last question for you is for the people that are watching us and are listening to us, if they are going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing or a few things you can say so they can start overcoming that challenge?
Yeah, embrace the challenge is number one. A challenge, man, is going to happen. I mean, in this world, you're going to have problems, but you got to embrace those challenges as stepping stones. Instead of letting them be like a roadblock for you, let them be something you can elevate. Sometimes you step over them, but sometimes you step on them,
Hmm.
man, and you make yourself taller and you see it differently. When you're looking at a challenge, it's like being in the middle of a storm, but get above the storm like an eagle. An eagle lets the storm propel them upwards and they go above the storm.
Mm.
Storm is still there, they just fly above it. But the people that let the storm control them stay below it. They go hide. So, in other words, instead of just complaining about the challenges, I think the moral of the story with that is to embrace the challenges as something that can help you grow and get better.
Boom, there you have it. I love that. It's a great message there, Mark. Thank you again for being here. Really appreciate having you on and you sharing some of the things you have going on, and definitely looking forward to having people connect with you. Go out and check out your webinar. Any last minute things you might want to share?
No, I'm grateful for you. I encourage people to, they're listening, follow you and support you in what you're doing. That's a big deal. I'm grateful to be on with you and appreciate the opportunity. And if people want to reach out to us, that'd be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you guys share this podcast. Tell everyone because definitely somebody needs to hear this message and we can impact somebody's lives. I'll see you guys on the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.